Hello, hi, welcome. My name is Sarah and this is Wicked Reading. So as you can tell by the title, we are going to discuss my summer TBR in this video. I was originally going to do just a June TBR because I am participating in a readathon during the month of June. So I have a lot of books picked out specifically for that readathon. But I thought about it and I'm traveling a lot during the month of July. So I probably won't read that many books throughout the month. And then I have a really big book planned for August. So there's not going to be too many books in August either because a lot of my time is going to be dedicated to this single book. So I decided to just put them all together. So like I said, in June, I'm going to be participating in the Once Upon a Readathon hosted by Hannah Blackwell. And I will link her channel and her announcement videos down below in the description so you can join. I am on Team Pirates. It is Treasure Island themed. That being said, you can read any books. It's a points-based readathon. Any book you read, you automatically get 100 points. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't think that there's a page count criteria or anything like that either. That being said, there is a lot of opportunity to get bonus points. Since it is Treasure Island themed, if your book has a water setting, you get extra bonus points. If you read a book that has your team's mascot, I'm Team Pirates, so if I read a book with pirates, you get additional bonus points. And if you read by an author that's in the LGBTQIA community or is BIPOC, then you also get bonus points. On top of that, you can also take points from other teams, except you do have an elemental ally, so my ally is merfolk, so I can't attack them, nor can I get bonus points if I read a book with a mermaid in it. But I can attack the dragon team and the djinn team. So if I read a book with those in them, I take points from those teams. So it's super fun. I'm really excited. And I have a ton of very water-based or mascot-based picks specifically for the month of June. I probably have more books picked out specifically for June than I will be able to get to. So those will just roll over. That was a lot of rambling. So let's just go ahead and talk about the books. So first I'm going to talk about all the books I picked specifically for June for the readathon. I do have one book for June that does not have to do with the readathon per se, but it is for a book club for June, and that is Curse of the Reaper by Brian McCauley. This is for the Dark Hearts book club by Amy Noel Reads, and I will also put her channel down below and her video for the whole summer's book club picks. So I'll link that too. So you can also see what other books she has planned for the summer for the book club. So this book is said to be Scream meets The Shining, which sounds amazing. I'm trying not to get my hopes up because I've heard a lot of books compared to other books that I've loved or saying like this book is the combination of this great book and this great book, so it's for lovers of those books, and then it's just like not at all what I was hoping for. So I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but it sounds amazing. So in this book, we are following our main character, Howard, and he starred as a killer in an 80s horror movie franchise. Now, decades later, he is losing a lot of his fan base, and the studio decides to do a remake and give the series a reboot. But then Howard finds out that he is not going to be playing who he was playing in the original series. He is being replaced by another actor, this like heartthrob child star who's fresh out of rehab. This young actor's name is Trevor, and he is determined to stay sober and revamp his image. But at the same time, Howard is having a really hard time letting go of his character. And in this, Howard starts to become very consumed by this sinister alter ego of that killer, and it starts to consume his mind and push him to the brink of violence. Then it says, is the method actor succumbing to madness, or has the devilish Reaper taken on a life of its own? And I don't know, I think it sounds really good. It's listed as a horror and psychological thriller, and I'm looking very forward to it. I don't have a physical copy of it. I have it on hold at the library, so they'll let me know when it comes in. But yes, I'm excited to read this. So now moving on to the books that are very much more so focused on the readathon. I'm gonna go by genre. So I'm gonna go through some horror, and then I have some fantasy picked out. Oh my God, leave already. I'm waiting for my neighbor to leave because he's revving his Mustang. I think he's leaving now. So sorry if you heard all of that in the background. there he goes. So as I was saying, the first horror I have on my list is actually a novella, and that is The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw. A very short novella. It's only 106 pages, so it's going to be a really nice quick read. So I've heard really good things about this already. It is a dark fairy tale horror type of book that is said to have creeping dread and delicious gore. In this book, we are following a mermaid that is on the run, and along the way she is joined by a plague doctor, and they go into the forest and they stumble upon a village of ageless children that have the thirst for blood. So if you're participating in the readathon, this will get you either bonus points or attack points for the mermaids. It is by an LGBTQIA+ author as well as a BIPOC author. Next on my list, I have Head Like a Hole by Andrew Van Way. So this book was 100% a cover buy from Amazon. I just saw it, I liked the cover, so I bought it. And actually recently, Amy Noel Reads has read it and she said she really liked it. So I'm looking very forward to reading this. It says, when you bury your past, make sure that it's dead. In this book, it is very much 90s vibes, Hot Topic, grunge flannels, Spice Girls, and all the just fun mid-90s vibes, which I'm totally here for. In the story, a fisherman reels in the remains of a young woman, but the remains don't seem to be quite dead and are still pulsing with life. After this, in a different part of town, we start following our main character, Megan, and she starts to experience some very eerie and creepy phenomena and things going on. And that's kind of all I know. That's all I really want to know going into this. So this is listed as a supernatural horror. I'm also kind of expecting a lot of body gore and horror in this book as well. And as far as the readathon goes, you do get extra points for the water setting. Then we have Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant. I am so excited to read this. This book was featured on my 5-star predictions. This is probably going to be the first book that I read for the readathon in June. I am so excited. In this world, 7 years ago, there was a ship that set sail to the Mariana Trench where a film crew was going to film a mockumentary bringing to life ancient sea creatures. But then the ship is lost at sea. Some people say it's a tragedy, other people say it's a hoax. Now a new crew has been assembled and they are going to make their way to that area to try to find the ship. We have our main character who is on this new voyage in order to get answers because her sister was on the original ship. It is said to be a claustrophobic deep-sea terror tale combining science, horror, and mystery. So I'm looking super forward to this. You do get bonus points for mermaids as well as LGBTQIA+ author. Going off of Into the Drowning Deep, there was a novella that was written before it inspired the full novel, and that is Rolling in the Deep, obviously by Myra Grant as well. So this I will also try to read during June. I could not find a way to get a physical copy. I don't know if they just don't publish them anymore or print them. So I do have it on hold on my Libby app for the audiobook, which is only like 2 or 3 hours, so it's really quick. But it kind of depends on if I can actually get to it by the time that the month is over. But I do plan on reading that as well. I've heard that it doesn't necessarily matter which one you read first or second, so I'm just kind of doing it as I can. Next, I also don't have a physical copy for this one, and it is The Deep by Nick Cutter. I already have it available to me on audiobook, so I will eventually start that one. So in this book, there is a plague that breaks out that makes people forget. It's kind of very much like dementia. At first, people are forgetting very small things, and then eventually very big things to the point that their body forgets how to function and it becomes lethal. A cure is discovered under the Pacific Ocean deep in the Mariana Trench. So because of this discovery, a research group is going out to this area, but they lose communication with the lab that was built 8 miles under the sea's surface. So now they must descend down to that lab to figure out what is happening or what's lurking. So this is another water setting, and it seems like it's going to be very claustrophobic and very kind of sense deprecating. I did really love The Troop by Nick Cutter. I thought it was fantastic. This one is rated lower on Goodreads, but I'm doing the audiobook, so we're definitely going to give it a chance, and we'll see. I'm excited nonetheless. I love his writing style, at least in the troop, so I hope that his writing style is very similar in this one. Next on my list, I have Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. So in this book, Leah has just gone on a deep sea mission which ended in catastrophe. She finally comes home to her wife, Mary, and Mary notices that there's just something off about Leah, and she's not the wife that she remembers before. So all I know with this book, there's like a little bit more in the synopsis, but I'm not going to really read much more. I just know that this is a very kind of like sad, deep story. So I've heard really great things about it, but I do know you kind of have to be prepared to read a really sad story. I think it's a lot to do with kind of losing connection with each other, and whether or not Leah went through something at this catastrophe. Maybe there's some PTSD involved, maybe it's something more sinister, I don't really know, but this will definitely be read. But this does have a water setting and bonus points for LGBTQIA+. So that was all of the like horror books, or like, I guess Our Wives Under the Sea is not like necessarily horror. I think it's kind of more, it's like horror adjacent. I feel like it's kind of maybe more literary horror, maybe, I don't know, but I would say it's kind of maybe more adjacent. But nonetheless, that was all like my more horror. So moving on to the fantasies I have planned. First up is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarrow. I mean, if you haven't heard of this book, you have not been watching anything on BookTube, because everybody and their goddamn mom has been reading this book. A lot of people seem to love it. A lot of people also think it's overhyped. So I don't know. I did get the first edition with the sprayed edges. All I really know about this is it is a fantasy romance that takes place at a school where people learn to become dragon riders. So it's got a lot of dragons in it, and for me it's going to be attack points to the dragons. Sorry, dragons. But it could be bonus points for dragons if you're on the dragon team. I don't think there's water or anything else involved, so it's just mascot based. This is going to be my first taste into a book that has like heavy dragons in it, and I'm looking really forward to it. Next on my list is Fable by Adrienne Young. So this is actually a YA fantasy, and I've had it for quite a while. I know in my last vlog I literally was like, I hate faces most of the time on covers, but this face, if it's a redhead with freckles and blue eyes, put them on every single book. Like, she is beautiful and stunning, and I wish I looked like her. She is gorgeous, and I do not mind this face on my cover at all. I love it. Anyways, follow a girl whose dad is a very powerful trader on the seas. Someone's got a water setting in pirates, but she is on her own after her mother actually drowns in the ocean, and then her father leaves her on an island that is known to have very limited resources and a lot of thieves. So she really has to learn how to survive, and she eventually decides to go on a journey to find her father in order to demand her place on his ship that she deserves. So she ends up setting for this journey along with a trader named West, but West may not be who he says he is. They say that this is where a young girl must find her place and her family while trying to survive a world built for men, and I love that. I love a powerful woman making it in a man's world, and I think it's gonna be really good. Next up, I have two books that I don't have physically because I'm getting a Kindle, and I'm so excited, and both of these are on Kindle Unlimited. So these are gonna be my first books I read on a Kindle, and I'm so pumped. So the first one is Captive of the Pirate King by Rebecca Kenny. So I'm pretty sure that this is a dark fantasy romance, and I think that there's some spice in it. But in this, we obviously have pirates and we have a water setting. So I'm actually going to just read the synopsis because I feel like Kindle Unlimited, like, they're pretty good with having just a short synopsis, and I don't know what else to say about it or condense it anymore. So the synopsis is, Veronica wants nothing more than to find her brother who sailed away years ago. But when Veronica's ship is captured by pirates, she's determined to save her own skin while keeping her magic and her gender a secret. Disguised as male, she finagles I love that word. She finagles a spot as a cabin boy aboard a buccaneer's vessel, which is bound for Raven's Beck, a stronghold where the pirate king holds sway. He may have the answers Veronica seeks, but getting those answers could cost her more than she's willing to pay. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I wanted to have like a pirate romance with some spice in there. So we're gonna give it a go. Then next on Kindle Unlimited, I will be reading To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. So from what I understand, this is kind of a dark retelling of The Little Mermaid, which I'm so excited. I've been really interested in dark fairy tale retellings lately, and I think it sounds so good. So in this, we are following Princess Lyra, who is Siren Loyalty, and she collects princes' hearts from all over. Now, I don't know if it means like quite literally, physically, she has beating hearts or non-beating hearts of these princes, or if it's like a love thing. I don't know. I feel like it's physical and they mean literally she has a collection of hearts, but I don't know. But I'm excited to figure it out. Then one day she is in a set of circumstances where she is forced to kill one of her own. Now, as punishment, her mother, the Sea Queen, transforms Lyra into a human. And part of the deal is that Lyra must now deliver Prince Elian's, I don't know how to say his name, Elian's heart to the Sea Queen by winter solstice, or else she remains a human forever. Now, this prince is actually a well-known and brutal siren hunter. So one day he's on a hunt and he runs into a drowning woman. After he saves her, she says, "I can help you destroy all of siren kind." This has pirates, mermaids, and a water setting involved. I forgot to say, there is also a couple of books that have buddy reads going on in the Discord for the readathon. To Kill a Kingdom has a Discord for a buddy read, and also Into the Drowning Deep and Fourth Wing. Of the ones that I am particularly reading, there's buddy reads for a bunch of other ones that I'm not personally reading, but all those three will also have like a separate chat to talk about the books. So it's super cool, super interactive. So yes, that is all of the books that I'm planning on reading in June. Whatever I don't get to in June is just going to roll over to the rest of the summer, but I wanted to try to get as many books as possible that go along with the theme of the readathon. So moving on to the books that I'm reading throughout the rest of the summer in July and August. So another book I have picked out from Kindle Unlimited is Paradise Club by Tim Meyer. I'm going to also read the synopsis just straight from the computer for this one because there's kind of a lot going on, but I feel like it condenses it really well. So it says, "Welcome to paradise, sandy beaches, crystalline waters, an all-inclusive resort with virtually everything you can think of. A true idyllic paradise. An event is taking place at Paradise Club that wasn't on the brochure. A dangerous game pitting the hotel's guests against a gang of bloodthirsty maniacs. Elliot Harper, family man and FBI agent, is about to find out how fast heaven can become hell when every single vacationer is forced to become a ruthless killer in order to survive. A team of killers have been unleashed, and they won't stop until every single guest is dead." So this is like a horror slasher survival-esque book, and I just think it sounds like it's gonna be really fun. I don't expect anything like crazy fantastic about this. It seems like it's just gonna be a fun time, an easy read on the plane. So I'm excited to get into it. I wanted to do a kind of summery horror, and I think that that fits this criteria. And I really wanted to try a slasher because I haven't done that many slashers, if any. I feel like I do a lot of kind of more entity-based killers, not like human killers and slashers. So I'm excited to give this one a go. Then we have Children of Fallen Gods by Carissa Broadbent. So this is the sequel to Daughter of No Worlds by the same author, obviously. And so I can't say too much about this plot-wise. I honestly don't even know too much about this plot-wise, but in the first one, we are following our main character, Tisana, as she is a slave who actually ends up murdering her very well-known, very powerful master. And so she is forced to then go and run away to the orders to learn how to control her magic and really hone in on it. And through that, there's a lot of like political stuff going on. There is a romance element in this as well, and I'm just excited to see where the story goes. So this is also available on Kindle Unlimited. Next up is a book that's not yet released, but it is The Gloom Between Stars by Piper C.J. This releases July 18th, and this is the third book in her series, The Night and Its Moon, which follows two girls who grew up together in an orphanage, and one is Faye Touched, and she ends up being sold to a brothel, and her name is Amaris. But in the midst of that, her best friend Knox ends up taking her place, and through a series of events, they get split up, and the whole series is really kind of about them trying to find their way back to each other while going through a lot of trials and tribulations with a bunch of fantasy elements and creatures and magic along the way. I don't care what anybody says, I love this series. The first book was not fantastically written, but there are so many beautiful moments and quotable moments, and I've had just such a blast with this series. I'm so looking forward to the third one. I think that the third one's supposed to be the final one. But yeah, so I'm looking very forward to it, and I can't wait to read it as soon as it comes out. Next is another book that is not yet released, and that is Looking Glass Sound by Catriona Ward. This releases August 8th. So Catriona Ward is one of my favorite authors. There's one of her books, there's the other two. She is fantastic. So she's an auto-buy author for me. I honestly didn't even know what this story was going to be about. I wasn't even going to look into it. I was just going to buy it. But I did pull up some information, at least to share with you guys, and now I'm even more excited. So in this book, we're following a man named Wilder Harlow, who is starting to write his very last book ever. He is writing a book that has to do with his childhood companions and a killer that stalked the New England area. Apparently, I think these kids run into a body, and it follows kind of like the decades of trauma and horror that came from that. But then it's a little confusing, I'm not gonna lie. But then Sky, Wilder's one-time best friend, stole his unfinished memoir and turned it into a best-selling novel, Looking Glass Sound. But as Wilder continues to write this story, the line between what's memory and what is fiction starts to blur. It says he fears he's losing his grip on reality when he finds notes hidden around the cottage written in Sky's signature green ink. So I don't really know. It's described as a twisty psychological horror, which I would say describes almost every single one of Catriona Ward's books. Knowing her style, this synopsis kind of fits her writing, where it's confusing, but the book by the end will make sense. So I'm expecting a lot of the same experience, where along the way it's going to be a little bit confusing, but eventually all light will be shined and it will make sense by the end. And then this book that I'm holding right now, I am terrified to read. And not because I don't think I'm gonna like it, although I do think it's gonna be slightly difficult for me to digest, but it is also such a chunky boy. I think it's the biggest book I will have ever read up to this point, and that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is a doozy. It's over 800 pages, and it is high fantasy. So it is probably my first high fantasy. I feel like the fantasy I do is very, approachable, very easy to consume. I do a lot more of like fantasy romance, but this is just straight up high fantasy, I'm pretty sure. So I already can't pronounce half of the words on the back, but I think that in this we are following a few characters and we're jumping like POVs, which I like, which does make thicker, bigger books faster for me if we're going and following 3 different stories or more. So I know we follow a queen that has to conceive a daughter in order to save her realm from destruction. And then we have an outsider of the court who has risen to the position of lady-in-waiting, but is loyal to a hidden society of mages, and she's secretly protecting this queen with forbidden magic. And then we're following a dragon rider that is forced to make a choice that could see her life unravel. And there are territories divided while forces of chaos rise. So that's all I got. There's kind of probably a lot going on in this book. And to say I'm nervous is an understatement. It's just, it's a doozy. And so that's why my list is a little bit shorter, because this will probably take me most of August, if not all of August, if not also September. So this is gonna probably take me a long time, but I am excited for it. Like, I've heard fantastic things. I'm just gonna take my time with it because I wanna make sure I'm absorbing the information correctly. I know it's gonna take a lot of annotations from me to keep everything straight. And yeah, so I'm nervous but excited, so we'll see. And then also on my list, I don't have a set number of volumes that I'm going to read. I might end up reading some of these even in June because there are dragons involved in it. And I will continue reading some volumes of Yona of the Dawn, of course. Freaking love this series. I recommend it to everybody. I think it's so great. In this series, we follow Princess Yona, and after a series of circumstances, she has to run away from the castle in order to get away from people that are trying to potentially get rid of her. And she ends up running away with her bodyguard. Along the way, they end up picking up a lot of people, and it's very found family feeling. I'm hoping that there will eventually be a romance, but it's just a super fun book, and it's very much about this girl discovering her strength and her voice, kind of like coming of age, you might call it, but it's been so fun. It's a great time. Really enjoy it, really love it. So that is everything that I am planning on reading for the summer. I know a lot of those, most of those I'm hoping to just read in June, and the fair few sprinkled in July and August. But let me know what you're planning on reading for the summer. If you've read any of the books that I mentioned, what you thought of them, or if you're also planning on reading them, I'd love to know. As always, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you spending some of your time with me while I talk about books. If you made it to this point in the video, leave me a pirate flag emoji in the comments down below so that I know. Give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't yet, all the fun YouTube things that help your girl out. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye!